Hi, everyone, and welcome to the NFA podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk about crypto, finance, TradFi, stocks, and emerging technologies, all wrapped in a little beautiful casing and hand delivered straight to you.
This is so fake. I just want to explain this. First of all, this week, Nish offended me on LinkedIn by describing this podcast as being hosted by her, like Mrs. Suave, I'm so next gen, Web3, whatever. And then the other guy, which would be me, describing me as TradFi chat guy.
I can't stop laughing.
And now she says this show is TradFi, and there's no TradFi on this show.
Okay, so Chad is like, just one of those like frat boys that you see that go to like finance school.
Yeah. So do you run into a lot of those in Dubai? You have those kind of types?
Not really. I run into a lot of Eastern European crypto holders that are like, I have Lamborghini. I'm not saying it as a derogatory term. It's like how...
No, it was really a compliment. TradFi chat guy is really a compliment. She had 0 likes on the post. I just want to add.
That's not true. I think I have like 3.
So yeah, those are all your three accounts that you use. You know, what are we trying to achieve in general with the podcast? Yeah, we want to share news, like Nish already said, and our views on it. And we don't give tips, no financial advice, what NFA also stands for, but we discuss stocks and tokens and those kind of things. Now, there was something interesting. Start with what Meltem Demirors said. I thought it was interesting. So Meltem is at Crucible Capital now. She's the one that taught me what shitcoins are, I think 7 years ago, at the CFC conference in St. Moritz in Switzerland, the home of TradFi chat guys. And she talked about shitcoins on stage. It's a brilliant presentation. I always recommend people watching it that are new in the space. But Meltem now said that the altcoin market in total market cap is at the same size as it was 4 years ago. And she called it a game of musical chairs. Ethereum, if you look at just the last year, the biggest altcoin, it's done nothing, of course. It's down compared to last year. Bitcoin against Ethereum is painful, but basically Bitcoin against all the others is painful.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
I guess I didn't notice because it was going up so much from October on. So what is your plan? What is your way to deal with this?
Just holding. I'm just holding.
Are you buying new tokens?
No, I actually haven't bought anything. I still have my Solana Sui and I'm holding on to my Bitcoin. I think when the markets are like this and they're so volatile, by trading, personally, I'm just going to lose money. It's not for me.
Yeah, so you have a long-term investment perspective.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So you're investing, long-term holding, but not buying new tokens. Not that we give advice here, but I'm still out of the market. I was actually going to dollar cost average my way in. And I haven't, and I explained to you why. Last week you said it doesn't take much time. True. It's picking which ones. I just couldn't.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, start Bitcoin, but for what percentage? And then the other thing is doing nothing. It's like it's on a savings account. So I know. So I guess I make it too big of a problem. I should just make small steps and start with Bitcoin again, and then go leave the rest and slowly get into it. Then you had news. It was scary too. What was happening with Hyperliquid?
Yeah. So, oh gosh, do you know what Hyperliquid does?
No, you explained it 2 weeks ago, and I nodded like this, and it just was like I was back in high school.
They're basically like a DeFi aggregator. Like they are a DeFi protocol, essentially, to make it easy. So decentralized finance for those guys that aren't into crypto.
That are from TradFi.
Yeah, you TradFi Chads. So Hyperliquid is a decentralized finance protocol that allows you to trade without going onto any centralized exchanges, which means that you don't have to KYC, you don't have to put in your, identity or address or anything. And that means that money laundering is really easy as well on these platforms, which is the bad side of crypto. But when used the right way, I think it has, massive upside. Now, this week, my news, unfortunately, is it being used in the wrong way. There was some market manipulation. Basically, Hyperliquid's treasury took a $5 million short position in this token called Jelly. And Jelly spiked, leading to an unrealized loss of $10.6 million. And if Jelly had reached 17 cents, it would have faced $240 million loss just based on their leverage. But basically, what happened is two wallets opened a long and short position separately on Jelly. And so it just really ended up messing with the price. And basically, they were quick. I mean, they pulled the short position and pulled the trading pair off of their platform. But it really highlights the market manipulation that can happen with decentralized finance, and the power of these exploits over the community.
Is it a big or a small token, Jelly? Because I'm assuming if you can move with two positions, then it must be a low market cap token.
I've never heard of it, so I can't imagine that it's that big. Yeah.
And still, you were able. Someone was able to get that into a $240 million risk for Hyperliquid.
Isn't that crazy? It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not good with DEXs. I do really love the whole idea of a DEX, and the whole thing with slippage. Now we're getting into technicalities of, but I saw some things in it early when we experimented with it that I thought, wow, you really have to understand this really well, which I still don't thoroughly do. And I also saw there were ways that you could manipulate it. And it's not a rug pull, but it's tricky, especially if you do it in for tokens that have lower liquidity. So that's where the risk happens.
One trade can make a 10% price impact. It's insane. And when you really get into the technical aspect of things, I've seen people lose money on trades because of slippage.
The other news that you had is also sort of interesting, I think. You want to go and share that?
Yeah, so GameStop, their stock slipped 8% because the company said that they wanted to raise funds to buy 1.3 billion. They wanted to raise 1.3 billion to buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, so they were going to issue new stock to buy Bitcoin. I don't understand why. I don't understand what this has to do with GameStop, the company. Suddenly you're becoming like a financial trader. I don't think you watch a movie yet. Dumb Money, movie about GameStop. I can't recommend it highly enough. The guy that has the starring role, I don't know the name of the actor. I forgot the name of the person. He was a cat on YouTube. I just know that he had a YouTube channel. If this would be like a movie that was not factual and it would be fiction, this would be a really weird movie. It wouldn't be believable at all that somebody really broadcasting from his basement gets so many followers that he can influence a public company to the point that he was wrecking billions of dollars of value of hedge funds.
Right? Yeah, it's
unbelievable.
Kitty.
Yeah, that was him. What is it? Roaring Kitty. There you go. It's such a good movie. Dumb Money. Pete Davidson is in it, who I really like. I'm a fan of, and he plays an idiot. I always like it when people play an idiot. I like playing one. So Dumb Money, watch the movie about GameStop, and then this news will be much more relevant to you. Any other news that you had you want to share? Because I think there's a lot of weird things.
I wanted to add, so your first news item, what was the woman's name?
Meltem Demirors. Yeah. She's Turkish originally, but her parents are from Turkey. She was born in Holland, in a small town in the south, and then she moved to the US.
And you mentioned that she did a presentation on quote unquote.
No, she was a guest on Bloomberg. She did a presentation. She did a presentation on shitcoins at CFC St. Moritz, I think in 2018, where I was. It was great. I also like the fact she walked on stage in leather pants, which is already shocking for Swiss people. So in the TradFi world, not for Swiss people as a whole, as a nation, before I get the Swiss after me, but for because you guys have leather, you just have them in hosen type. Ha ha ha! No, those are Austrians. I know. Before they get angry for me confusing Swiss with Austrians, you mountain people. But she was just really smart. She is really smart. And she also really took the time to explain to somebody that was really new back then in the space, like how this market was working. And I never heard the word shitcoins. Used on a stage.
I don't know if you remember, but in September last year, there was that guy Murad who basically did a talk at Token 2049 about the power of meme coins. And he turned into like the meme coin idol for months. He's still talked about because all the meme coins that he mentioned are down now. But he was talking about like the reason that they became so lovable.
Yeah, that was also a very good presentation. I forgot his name because I'm bad with names, but I remember it was a good presentation because he was explaining about the sense of community and purpose. Lack of purpose, but sense of community.
Yeah, his name was Murad. What was his name? Murad. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
Arabic name. But there's so many smart people in crypto, and I still think in crypto I've met the smartest people I've ever met, and the most horrific people I've ever met. It's kind of an amazing group of people.
So one of the projects that I'd worked with around 2021, they're called World Mobile. And while working with them, they basically do a decentralized mobile network that targets rural areas that don't have any connectivity. And it's really cool because you can actually buy the cell phone towers and you get a share of the revenue. So
Oh yeah,
a really cool project overall. But while working with them, they basically taught me that these telcos, the main source of revenue is by selling user data. They don't actually make that much money off of their networks because the cost of running these legacy networks is so high that they resort to selling data.
yeah. There's a main reason why I got out of the ISP business, which people didn't really understand at the time. Is the fact it's low margin and very capital intensive. You need billions, so you need to raise so much money to put cell phone towers everywhere to make this work at scale. That I think it's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's really cool actually. I think I mean I didn't want to jump to the pick of the week, but if I could randomly pick one, it would be them. They are probably one of my favorite projects that I've seen so far.
and they're
They
called
do World Mobile.
World Mobile.
Yeah, and yeah, they've just they have a brilliant business model. You know, it's expensive, but each cell phone tower the user is paying $100,000 to own, and it's in the form of
Hmm.
NFT. So it's the original DPIN project before DPIN was even a thing, and
Yeah.
they also sell Earth nodes, air nodes, and now they're selling modems, which I recently saw like yesterday. So they've really evolved, and it's just it's really nice to see, you know, someone that you've worked with so closely.
It's a tokenized version of crowdfunding that's really great, of course. I mean, it's very
Exactly.
innovative,
Yeah.
really cool. So, did
Yeah.
you have
Really
other
cool.
news this week, or do you want to go to the big one that I stumbled upon?
No, you go for it.
So it was weird. I was reading different newsletters. One is from MG Siegler. MG Siegler used to be a journalist at TechCrunch. Then he became a VC at Google Ventures, and now I think he's independent. He's writing again, and he talks a lot about Apple. He's a real Apple expert. He wrote something about that Apple apparently is going to build AI functions into the Apple Watch with a camera in it. But it would be interesting if Apple, to get to AI level on your watch, is going to build cameras and AI functions into the Apple Watch. So that was like one piece of news. Then day later, I get an email from Stuart Alsop, another former journalist. He was, I think, the founder of PC Week or PC Magazine, but a magazine about PCs in the 80s. He was like the most respected tech journalist. And Stuart, he wrote that Apple, he asked Tim Cook to resign. The headline of his newsletter was, "Tim Cook, is it time to resign?"
That's
Like,
crazy.
yeah.
What was the
And
basis behind it?
he says like, you did a great job, 15 years, you brought it from like under $1 trillion, you made the first $1 trillion company, and then now it's at 4 trillion market cap. But the main complaint that everyone has about Apple is their Apple Intelligence failure, this announcement that they were going to put AI in our iPhones. And now they had to announce that it's not working, and it's really not working, and they have to postpone it for at least a year. And that's really rare that Apple misses a shipment by a year.
Do you think it's because of the AI trading that they've just been so behind the game?
They basically thought they were going to do it like search. That was their approach. So like Google did search and Excite did search and AltaVista did search engines, and they just thought, we're not going to get into space. We're going to find the best search engine and put it in Safari and make it a default browser. And then we make money on the ad sales. It's a huge revenue for them in billions. What Google pays them to be the default search engine in Safari on iPhone. So they were going to do the same with AI. So they cut a deal with OpenAI. They're probably cutting deals with other AI applications as well. But for some reason, it hasn't been able to work with Apple iPhone. The demo that they had, maybe you heard about this, they basically announced they could tie your personal data to AI and then answer questions like, what time is my sister arriving at the airport tonight? That's a question that only Apple can answer because they know who your sister is. They can access flight schedules and can access your calendar and answer that question. By giving these really specific examples, you set the bar so high that a year later, it turns out nothing. There's nothing in my iPhone.
Google did that though, didn't they, with their Pixel? I remember seeing it like I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, there was this talk about how you can use your phone to basically book an appointment for you at the hair salon.
Yeah, that's the Google AI. But then you're booking it forward. Now listen to this. If it's different, right? If it's your sister arriving, because it's so specific, it has to know who your sister is.
Mm-hmm.
In your case, hard because you have two. So even harder if they would know which sister. And then knowing your calendar. And then access the flight data. So there was Stuart Alsop was the second journalist that complained about Apple. And then in general, it just looks like Apple has completely missed the boat. And that there's now, even though it's the biggest company in the world, it's got the highest market cap, it's super profitable. The third one that I found was the streaming issues. There was the next day I got an email, also from MG Sealer, Spyglass, Apple streaming issues. It lost $1 billion on Apple TV Plus, $1 billion, and it turns out that Apple was able to buy Netflix a couple of years ago and refused to, and instead started investing in their own streaming service, which is just not doing great. Even though two of my favorite shows, by the way, are on Apple TV Plus, highly recommend Shrinking and Ted Lasso. Really, really wonderful shows, high quality. But you don't have time for that because in the daytime, helping as a doctor is visible as a doctor. And then at night trading, apparently Eddie Q, that guy who runs services at Apple, he was against it and said we can build our own streaming service instead of forking over all this money. And Apple traditionally doesn't do big acquisitions. The biggest one I think they did was $1.5 billion for Beats by Dr. Dre. Remember that? That was their biggest acquisition ever. Now for Google, just paid $32 billion for Wiz last week that nobody cared about. But Apple doesn't do that typically. So there's this weird thing now where I see all these famous people and very influential journalists just bashing Apple one after another. And I'm thinking, wow, they got to do something. And it's really because they are behind the game in AI. That's basically the number one question people have. Like, how can you not have an AI offering? And you're Apple, the number one tech company in the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's news.
My point of bringing up the Google thing is that they also didn't meet that. Because I remember having a Google phone up until a year and a half ago.
That's actually a really good point you make because Google, and let me put it this way, every other company can get away with it except Apple because Apple has been notoriously good, especially under Steve Jobs, on delivering something that people were thinking was coming and then over-delivering. And this is the first time they really failed. Even Apple Vision Pro, which they announced, you remember that VR headset? Yeah. Was a great headset, but it was $3,500 and there was no content. But the device itself was amazing. It's an amazing high quality. It's by far the best VR headset I've ever seen, except there's no content for it. But but at least they delivered it. But now they announced Apple Intelligence because the stock market was demanding it. And they now had to go back and say basically, weren't ready, just announced some vaporware. And then he's basically, Tim Cook is getting creamed for it. And I think he did an amazing job as a CEO. And then you make this one mistake, really, and you're just getting clobbed. I'm thinking, wow, even this guy that brings a company like from market cap, what is it when he took over? I'll look it up, like 500 billion and brings it to 4 trillion. If you would have bought Apple stock when he became CEO and kept it, would have been better than any other investment, probably other than Bitcoin. And, you screw up one year and like, you got to go. You need to leave.
Crazy.
Tim Cook.
But journalists are also a bit brutal,
Really brutal. I think it's brutal. It's like, I really thought, and then here's the thing, Stuart Alsop, I consider him a friend, is a very nice guy. It's a really, really great guy. And so I was surprised that he is so adamant about this. And so I will invite him to the podcast. I think something we talk about. I would love to hear his views on crypto.
I would love that. That would be so sick.
I mean, the fact that you can get trashed having this performance. And then it's time to go.
I think it's also the unrealistic expectations that have been set by DeepSeek. It's like, if they can do it, why can't Apple deliver?
I think this was literally one of the quotes I read, that somebody said DeepSeek can do it, as if it's like simple, because these guys can do it in China, you should be able to do it.
Like, they don't understand the technology that goes behind it. Training AI models is one of the most expensive features of it.
Yeah, and also interesting, I think I remember, this reminds me seriously of the time when Google launched, and they had a whole different algorithm with the PageRank, that was their secret sauce. And that people seriously said to all the other search engines, why can't you just do what they do? As if it was simple to do. Like, just do something like PageRank. These guys are indexing the internet. mean, and you think this is easy to do? Like, yeah, if 2 kids can do it, it's like, no, these kids are exceptional. These are not regular type people.
These are anomalies, but they set the bar so high. And so I think what's going to happen over the next few years is you'll see a lot of the tech game changing. Companies that excel at certain things that didn't excel before, like Xiaomi with their phone, they've now excelled at their car, which is so unexpected.
Yeah.
We're going to see a lot of those, and it's going to weed out the players that just aren't keeping up. Yeah.
So, yeah, I have nothing other than that to add. I have no real opinion about Apple. Just in that I thought, yeah, Apple Intelligence doesn't exist yet. It's not there yet. They shouldn't have announced it. That's shitty. But to say that the CEO has to go because of it, I think that's a little quick.
Yeah.
A little bit. I feel like, wow, it's not a lot of room to make a mistake here, people.
Cut him some slack,
Yeah. But anyway, so what are your plans for the coming week in crypto? So just hodling, no buying.
Holding, I'm going on vacation and I'm not going to touch or look at my portfolio. It's going to remain as is and call it a day.
If it would drop a lot, is there any kind of sell order? Do you have a sell order that's there?
No.
So if it drops a lot, like more than 20%, there's nothing you can do. You just drop with it.
I mean, I'll take a look. Gosh, you're giving me anxiety.
No, it's just something I don't understand. Why did you place a sell order? Because you don't have it on centralized exchanges, I guess.
No, I have it on centralized exchanges. But to be honest, long term, again, I'm not a trader. I've invested in these for the long run, and I feel like they're going to perform really well.
Well, at your age, that's it's a strategy that you can stick to. At my age, basically counting months. All right. Well, have a great vacation. I'll see you next week. Or are you on vacation next week? What's the deal? People want to know.
It's Eid. So everything's off here in Dubai. After Ramadan, they have there's 30 days of fasting, and it's ended by Eid, which is just a lot of family time. It's almost like the closest thing I can describe to Christmas. And just a lot of family time and eating at home and cute little wholesome moments. So everyone gets holidays to celebrate, and I am not fasting and I am not Muslim, and therefore I'm going on vacation. I'll be back on Friday.
Oh, God, what a great vacation. There's not a European vacation. You're having a Dubai vacation. It's basically a couple of days off.
Of course. 6 days.
All right. Thanks for your time, Nish. Have a great vacation if I don't speak to you anymore.
You too. Speak soon.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. We always forget to say that. Like, comment, and subscribe.
And share, because the more you share, the more viewers and the better we do. Also, we have this really cool newsletter that has, I want to say 400 subscribers. So be a part of the elite.
God, you said it with a straight face. Yeah, be a part of the elite. Join these two people. They know.
Join us.